Okay. Oh, that looked at everything. Welcome to episode 5 of Love Island or Lie Island. I'm Rebecca Lewis and we're here with body language expert Judy James. This week's episode is going to focus solely on last night's explosive recoupling. It was the best episode of television ever, I've decided. And we're going to hopefully also answer some of your questions that you've been sending in. Thank you for those. And I want to start with the question that's kind of come in the most, and that is the many faces of Tommy and Lucy last night. So let's watch the clip.
Very happy.
Good.
I'm actually not like
happy?
it's nice. I was convinced that you changed your mind.
Never in a million years.
So just a little recap. Obviously those two had a really small flirtation at the beginning of the series and it kind of went nowhere. Then last week Lucy said she would be open to bromance and he shot her down. What did you make of those looks between the two of them?
It was really odd. I didn't know that Tommy was a ventriloquist act. Sitting there with little Lucy on his lap. But on the one hand, we got Tommy doing the nearest to congruent, oh, I'm so in love signals. It's a low bar in there, but he kind of went slightly above it. And then at the same time, we were getting all these almost theatrical asides of when Lucy first came in with George, who looks like he's been hewn out of some Barbie and Ken plasticky in a good-looking way kind of look. If they filmed that face at that time, now I have to say, this isn't a given. Like, he might have done that face a week ago and they saved it. But he suddenly went from being softened expression, oh look, I'm a man in love, to a look that has been described as thunder, and I wouldn't not agree with that, and a real sort of up and down. Now, I could understand that maybe with Ovie, because, you know, Ovie's taller, he's a rival sportsman, you know, coming in, but George I don't think would have that vibe, so I don't think it was just one alpha sizing up a potential alpha. So therefore we are left with this thought, and again with Lucy, smile, but these little side glances going on there, and why has she chosen George? Really? So that she can walk into that villa with a really good looking, I mean, you know, when they asked her about coupling, it wasn't sort of, well, he's got a fine mind, or, you know, it was, look at him, smug. So I'm not sure that there wasn't a lot of undercurrent going on there.
Okay, that's interesting. We also had his reunion with Molly-Mae, and I feel like these two might as well just pull up a seat for the final right now.
Oh, how many people have we said that about now?
Is there genuine affection there between the two of them, though, based on sort of that recoupling ceremony? Like, I saw that he stepped forward and he was the only one to really go to his partner. But what did you see with the body language?
Well, he was the only one with the clean conscience, really, wasn't he? I mean, he'd just been sitting there holding that mangy little toy for
Ellie Belly.
I thought he was going to hold it up and say, I've recoupled. And he'd kind of been recoupling with Curtis in a way, hadn't he? I mean, the two of them have been together. Not in that way, but yeah, he clearly played it straight down the line, hadn't he? He hadn't flirted with or looked at anybody else apart from the games that they've been playing with them. So I think he was the only one that had no complex responses. I think with Tommy, he kind of talks about his emotions, but he doesn't really show them in his body. Every woman that he's been coupled with or wanting to couple with, he's always been the same. His body language has kind of plateaued in a way, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but we're not seeing a huge change in him apart from verbally. I mean, obviously, Molly-Mae did the whole drama bit, you know, throughout.
The tears.
She, you know, oh my God, I fell into, I mean, I think she'd just won the Olympics or something like that. She managed, and I was trying to keep a very close eye on her tears because, you know, when we get all that sobbing, when you see it on a reality show, you do have to look and see if there's anything squeezing out. And I think she did squeeze out a couple by the end of it. I was a bit suspicious. But yeah, they looked like a couple genuinely fond of one and genuinely missing one another. But, and out comes my cynical finger, we do have to remember the fact that the other thing when they come around that corner is if there was somebody else, I'm probably going to get evicted. So there is a kind of professional relief probably in there as well, but that's me being cynical. Of course they look madly in love.
You mentioned that Tommy's body language is sort of plateaued. Why would that be? is there any reason for him possibly doing that?
I,
Or do you think it's just him?
He's a guy, what we would call it in the business, he doesn't do leakage.
Okay.
There's very little about his body language that no small giveaways or movements. So with a lot of people in there, like Michael, for instance, Michael is all the time, body, his tongue and his eyes and his facial expressions and everything like that. So he's a bit of an open book. Tommy, though, I don't know, he's a good-looking guy, great face. He smiles, but there's no subtlety in his movements. That might be because he's a boxer, and boxers do tend to keep their guard up so they don't show emotion to their opponents. But, yeah, he always looks good. But, you know, how many times have we seen him, if... who's it? If another woman walked in here, I wouldn't even look at you. And he always has that, I'm being really honest with you, look about him. I'm not doubting him, because he's Tyson Fury's brother. But yeah, I wouldn't like to think that you could absolutely 100% know what he was thinking.
Yeah. I want to touch upon Tommy and Curtis really quickly. Quite a few viewers have suggested that this bromance is staged. Now, we all know bromance is quite important on this show now, but based on what we've seen, the hand-holding, the relying on each other, the cuddling, the kiss, what is it staged? What are your thoughts?
I think ka-ching is all I can say.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's almost a greater goal for the guys to go in there and do a bromance, because that has got more possibilities for work outside. I have a feeling those two spotted that quite quickly, and they probably like one another, but it's the way that they, like they do when they're couples, they take themselves off to seats and sit down and talk about their bromance and have a kiss, and then they'll go somewhere else and tell me all about it. They're being given those little scenes that, for me, are choreographed.
Okay. Curtis and Amy. Now, I think this episode was a tough one to watch, whether you're a fan of Amy and Curtis or not. Over the past 4 or 5 days, Curtis has obviously had a break from Amy while she's been in Casa Amor, and he's realised that he hasn't been truthful with himself. But some viewers are calling him manipulative as well. Just focusing on the ceremony, what would you say was his key moment?
I feel it coming. Hold your breath. Don't let go.
Such a good scene, such a good scene. Yeah, talk us through what you just saw and what it sort of tells you from a body language point of view.
I mean, number one, what was Curtis doing? When you say somebody's lost the plot, I think he genuinely has lost the plot. I have a feeling that he was probably going to do this thing where he was going to bring a bit of drama into their relationship by being the one that goes away to Casa Hate, I'm calling it now, not Casa Amor. St. Curtis is tempted, you know, I mean, you could almost see it on a stained glass window, can't you, in church, by another woman. And it made him reassess his relationship with Amy. He wasn't sure. But then by the time he goes back in again, we're all watching and he goes, no, Amy, it's 100%, and we all cry, and etc. But it went wrong because he then got rejected, didn't he, in there? And not only did he get rejected, he was also, maybe not slagging off is a strong word, but he was talking about Amy, and that's almost the ultimate betrayal when you talk to other women and everybody else about, you know, somebody's behaviour. So his body language was incredibly complex. I don't think he knew how to play it. I think he was beginning to add it all up in his mind as to how it's going to make him look. So what we saw was Amy clearly coming in the whole bit, you know, arms out, round his neck, you know, tears, and a degree. His eyes had almost disappeared. Did you notice they went very tiny as he got into reflective thinking? What do I do now? But then the thing to watch with those two, when they sit down, Tommy and Molly couldn't keep their hands off one another. Just watch the hands that go on. There was a little bit of arm rubbing that went on, but then...
he had like a clenched fist.
He had a clenched fist.
I noticed
that. Absolutely. And then it kind of dangled a bit further away. Now, you know, if you really love somebody or you want to reassure them, you use what are called tie signs. So at that point, cameras on them or not, the touch is really important to say, look, I know I said we need to talk, which is like boom, 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 dreadful. But that would have been a reassurance but he wasn't not touching her. And again, we got the big tell from her, which is the curled top lip. It ain't coming down anymore. I think that lip is going to be curled up to nostril level for the rest of the show because she's not happy. And she still doesn't know half of it, does she?
No. When she walked in and gave him the hug, it was a really wide arms. What does that sort of tell you from her point of view? She's quite into him, would that suggest?
I'm not sure about either of those two, quite honestly, but they seem to be working plots together. I mean, why suddenly decide you're in love with the guy? That is so critical when the guys have gone off to the Casa Hate, that you get paranoid. You don't suddenly, actually, I really, really love them. You'd know that you were cruising for a bruising with that. You might at that moment be made to look really stupid. The arm fling was very much part of her plot, which is that, let me now... And I think she thought it was going to be reciprocal. She probably thought that, St. Curtis had been tested in there, but decided on... But then it all went a bit wrong because his body language was out of kilter. So I think that's an interesting problem that they've got there. The little wheels have come off that one. I'm not gloating, but it ain't working.
You did say it, yeah. I want to talk about Jordan a little bit, who was kind of the catalyst of this whole thing. She made some interesting faces during that ceremony. What are your initial thoughts on her as a New Islander?
I think Jordan has got the kind of facial features and expression that the guys in there will find very attractive, because most of the women in the villa have got a little bit, they're a bit tired, they're maybe a bit fed up, they're beginning to see the worst side of and so they're getting a little bit angry. Suddenly you've got this woman going in there who's got a really kind facial expression. She's got a really smiley eye expression. I think she's very smart though. She was very watchful. You could see her watching and probably calculating what was going to... And she's probably 3 days shows ahead in her mind, which will be that, is she going to be the one to make friends with Amy and tell her about Curtis? And, so that, I think, to my money, she was working out what was going to happen and the complexities of that, because it's so important that they also get accepted by the women in there. As Joanna's going to find out, they need to love you, Joanna.
Well, let's talk about Michael. Let's just watch this first.
It actually regurgitates fear in me, and I'm not even out there.
Yeah, he's clearly been set on his decision for several days, but based on this ceremony, I was really interested in if he actually has any empathy for Amber, because I feel like he's been talking quite badly about her, and he's made his mind up. Are we seeing anything towards Amber in this body language?
I think to survive in there, they have to stop themselves from feeling that empathy. And if you notice, when he was in the Casa Hate, he spent a lot of time paving the way for what he was about to do. He said about her, she could be picking up with somebody else. It would be fine if she does. What he was really saying was, it's fine if I do it as well. He was pretending that he wasn't sure of her feelings for him, which is a bit rubbish, really. And then he started talking about her being childish and everything like that. So he'd been putting these paving stones down. And what that means is, if he actually takes the relationship at face value, which is that they were allegedly the strongest couple in there and seemed to be powering through to the final, he almost can't accept himself, I don't think, that how she might be feeling, because it's going to make him feel absolutely wretched and guilty, and maybe not be able to get on as well with the guys as he would like to. So he has to feel that he's done the right thing and that he was put upon by her behaviour. I think that with her, he probably knew or knows that her body language reaction is probably less likely to be about tears and pathetic and pity and more about anger. So that will play in a way into his hands, you know, like, well, look, you know, this is what she's like.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of tongue action going on there. He licks the side of his mouth a lot, and he did that when he was with Joanna, and it was very much cat got the cream, sexual signal. But he kind of put his tongue over his teeth. It was almost like a boxer putting in a gum shield, as though he thought he was going to be punched. That showed a basic fear reaction was going on. But what was so fascinating, and I still can't work out why she did it, when Amber looked at him, she licked the corner of her mouth. Now, that normally would be a flirt signal. However, it's an enjoyment signal, and I've got a horrible feeling that licking of the mouth is, I'm really going to enjoy wiping this guy around every wall in the villa. So it was almost as though, despite the shock and the upset or whatever, maybe she's been bottling up some anger against him as well. Maybe they've been annoying one another and cobbling it together as a relationship for both of them for a while. So her reaction looked very strange, and that's the only way I can maybe think that she was thinking that if I can't have him, I know now it's open season, I can have a go at him.
So we think Michael is probably pretty afraid of Amber right now.
I think, listen, the guy's job means that he's probably not that afraid of much at all.
True.
And he's used to putting out fires. Amber, Ember, it's all there. Yeah. But I think that what would be important for him, his biggest fear will be that the men reject him. I think if the women have a go at him, and Anna and Amber, as we know, are horrible when they get going. But I think he's been paving the way to keep the guy's approval, and I think he wants to keep that. I fear for him and Joanna, but I think there was fear there from him.
I actually want to talk about Anna a little bit as well, because we've had quite a few comments asking for more of Anna each week. So I'm keen to speak about her time in the villa. Just to quickly jump back a few days, she was coupled up with Jordan, and a lot of our viewers didn't really see any kind of connection there, apart from maybe just sexual attraction. And it seems that she obviously felt that way because she's decided to recouple up with Ovie. Can you talk a little bit about, from your perspective, Anna with Jordan compared to Anna with Ovie, and why she's maybe picked Ovie?
I think she's been settling not for what she can get. I mean, Jordan's a nice enough guy, but I think she was the one that was in danger of being, you know, in the musical chairs, not having anybody. And I think when she went into that villa, you know, she's got this big profile. She's obviously, you know, got herself looking like a Kardashian or something like that. And to then not get somebody, that was not going to be good for her image. So I think there was perhaps a little bit of trying to make a fit. And I think clearly when she walked in and saw Ovie, there's a huge status gain there. I mean, not only is he the tallest guy, he's a sportsman. I would imagine that on her social circuit, he'd be much more of the profile that she would go out with, you know, somebody that's already a bit famous, I don't know. So I see that as more of a fit, but I don't know intellectually how long is that going to last. He's not the chattiest guy in the world, is he?
We haven't seen too much now.
No, and she's, you know, has got an intelligent job and everything like that. So, and funnily enough, she probably, you know, Michael might have been intellectually a good fit for her, but no, I think she also, in a way, needed to do an Amber and have an alpha male to be with, so that she can then also be Queen Bee like Amber was. She'll be the only Queen Bee now. But,
when she walked back into the villa and she realised that Jordan had picked her and she'd come in with Ovie, it sort of seemed to me that she looked a little embarrassed. She kind of kept her head down, she wouldn't look at him. What does that tell you?
Well, I was interested in the ritual because I don't know why she was so surprised and had to look she looked shamed, didn't she? And you know, she was muttering and not speaking up or anything like that. And she said, "Oh, I didn't know you felt about me quite like that," which is a little bit wrong, I think. I think those two pretty much size one another up. And then suddenly, and you know, Ovie's probably had his little eyes opened if he'd have looked at her reaction to Michael. Suddenly we're seeing that warrior woman coming out. I mean, of all of them, and is it not a little bit hypocritical when you've actually uncoupled yourself to then go in and be that angry with somebody else that's uncoupled? I found that quite interesting.
I mean, we haven't seen yet, being Wednesday, what's going to happen in tonight's episode, but I think the big difference for me personally is the way that they've gone about it individually. Like, Michael's very much, I think, played on Amber's insecurities for his own reasoning, whereas Anna was like, I wasn't really into him. We weren't serious.
Yeah.
They'd only been together a short amount of time. That's why
I do get that. I just think, as it wasn't her that it happened to come out so forcefully. I mean, in a way, it's kind of none of her business in a way, and she looked way more annoyed than Amber. And Amber's not vulnerable in terms of fighting her own corner in a way. I just found her facial expressions were so angry and her lower jaw jutted and everything. I thought, tone it down a bit, mate.
It'll be interesting to see what happens this coming week then, I suppose.
Yeah, I think they'll be cleaning the floor of the villa down.
How we present ourselves, you know what I mean? But yeah, it must be difficult for you.
Yeah, I'm finding it hard, to be honest.
What do you reckon would sway it more?
I don't know.
Okay. Oh, that looked at everything. Go on. Carry on.
I thought she was going to call for the crash cart any minute. Can you bring those pads out? Get something out of him. She's trying so hard to turn him into a guy. I'm sure he's got a personality, but not what we're seeing on screen.
Yeah.
And his floppy little hands between his knees. None of that smacks of the kind of guy. I mean, again, superficial. She wanted a blonde. He looks like maybe he might stay on a surfboard for more than 2 seconds. But that was so superficial. But she's trying to, it's almost like, I need to go through a flirt ritual. She got the shoulder out. She was giving it all that. It just wasn't working. I mean, he was just hewn from some kind of stone or something. So I just felt they were going through the motions. So
she decided to couple up with George, although earlier in Casa Amor she did have a little thing with Stevie. Did you see more with them, or was that equally as sort of fake?
Stevie would not. He in a way, he was more of a Joe, where I think he would have been easy company. I think they would have got on in a really friendly way.
Yeah.
I think there was sexual attraction with Joe. I don't think she felt any sexual attraction with Stevie. Maybe if she'd have found out what he's earning, she might have. I think most people took a second look. He's a lovely guy, but I think, again, she probably feels that given there's this kind of Tommy, she's declared for Tommy, I think she probably felt she should go back in with a bit more of a trophy man.
Right.
That she can work from the behind, I don't know. But
Yes.
I'm sure he will develop into the most entertaining personality we've ever seen in him.
We'll see. Thanks so much for watching. That's it for this week. Thank you so much, Judy. And catch us next week on YouTube and metro.co.uk. Thank you.
Perfect.